Members of the jury. This is a case about a young woman who is being accused of murdering her husband in cold blood, when in reality, she simply acted out of self-defense in an attempt to escape a life-threatening situation in the only way she saw possible. Testimony will show that on June 17th, Dominique Stevens had an interaction with her husband that confirmed her fear for the well-being of her and her children, and as a result, she obtained the gun that belonged to her husband, which he had previously threatened her with, and fatally shot him in his sleep. Testimony will show that the arresting officer did not believe Dominique Stevens to be a victim of abuse at the time of arrest because Stevens refused medical attention and did not bring up the abuse to the officer at that time. However, in the case of a young woman who has been living in fear for years, it seems perfectly reasonable that she would want to keep her thoughts to herself until she had a chance to process what she had just done. It goes without saying that signs of abuse are not always outwardly presented. In fact, testimony will also show that Dominique was believed by an expert to be suffering from battered woman syndrome as a result of her husband's extensive physical and emotional abuse. This condition would account for the life-ending act that Dominique committed due to the level of fear and isolation that Dominique's husband forced upon her throughout the years. Testimony by Dominique's sibling Jordan will confirm that Dominique had isolated herself from the entire family. Testimony will show that Dominique had gone with her kids to a women's shelter in the past and confessed to the former director that she was being beaten and did not desire to return to her home, but unfortunately she was forced to due to overcrowding. Evidence will also show the 11 hospital visits that Dominique had due to injuries obtained from being beaten by her husband. Because she had endured the abuse for so long and her husband had total control over her and their children, Dominique had been convinced that there was no other way to escape her husband's violence other than to eliminate him entirely. She did this in defense of herself and with the hope of protecting her children. When the facts of the case are considered, it is clear that Dominique Stevens is not guilty of the first-degree murder of her husband, and instead was forced to act in self-defense against him after several years of severe physical and emotional abuse.